Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to learn how to stitch derby uppers. This is a follow-up for our last class where we made this pattern and created all the pattern pieces on leather. So in this class we are going to learn how to stitch those leather pieces together, the upper, and then also attach it to linings. Let's go ahead and do it. So, stitching on a derby, what I typically do is divide it into two: the vamp area and then the back area. That's the quarters. Then I use exactly the same pattern of the vamp for my linings. So you can see that I'm just tracing out the vamp on my lining, and I'm also going to trace out the stitched up quarters on the same lining. Cut them out, and then you begin to see exactly how I couple the vamp to the back area, that's the quarters. So I'm tracing out the same pattern for the quarters on the lining. When you're doing this, you have to be careful that you don't have ink marks touching on your upper. Ink on leather is one of the most difficult things to remove. Bleach, petrol, kerosene will not get it off. So whenever you have ink, not dye, ink, whenever you have ink close to your leather, be absolutely very careful. So I've gone ahead and traced out the pattern, but you can see that at that concave area I've drawn a line joining the tip of the facings to the very bottom of the quarter. I'll let you know exactly why I did that as we go along. So the first thing is we're going to stitch the vamp area, and it's a simple matter of joining just the tongue area, gluing it together just around the heart of the tongue. So you can see that probably when I demonstrate it on the upper itself, it will be clearer to understand. So this is the tongue. You see that line? Yes. So my glue go just to that area. You leave it and let it to dry a bit, and then you face the quarters. So around the facings, throughout the entire length of the top line, are the places where I'm going to apply my tacking glue. Do the same thing on the quarter, on the lining, around the facings, all along the top line. I add my tacking glue. Now this glue is not going to hold it together structurally. The stitching will do that, but what we are adding this glue for is so that it just stays in one place while we stitch. So you join the upper of the vamp to its lining, and then stitch along these lines that I have just drawn out, just still around that tongue area. Now because I don't want silver pen marks on my leather, I'm going to clean it, but also leave that middle point there for guidance when lasting. Then for the quarters, I start from the middle and proceed towards the facing on the left and then the facing on the right. Tack it together, and then I would also stitch along the length of the facing and along the top line. So basically those are the first stitches that I'm going to make. So let's do the stitching right now. So first thing, we stitch around the tongue area. Now I'm just using this sewing machine because this is a demonstration shoe. This is a sample shoe that I'm making just to teach my online paid course students this point, this part of their lessons. So I do the same thing around the facings and around the top line, and then get that done. So we'll simply just finish off our stitching, and you can see that's the facing and the top line. So here's where we are. You can see that the vamp is stitched in such a way that every other part of it is loose, but just that tongue area, which is stitched to the lining. And then we have the same that has been done. Now, I mentioned this part to you earlier on. You see the reason why I left that part presently. So what I will do is I will measure about 2.5 cm away from that point on the facing and mark it out on the lining, turn around and do the same on the opposite, the flip side of the facing itself, and mark it out. Then I will cut out everything, all the excess lining before that mark that I made, and from that mark I will cut inside a notch inside. See how it came out? Then you flip it over and you see how that is on the inside. So I'll do the same on the flip side. I'll cut to the point that I made, then I'll cut a notch into the lining, not on the upper itself obviously, but into the lining, and you can see how it appears on the inside. So what I will simply do is attach it to the vamp like so. So I'll simply place it on the vamp like so and attach it to the stitching allowance that we already had on the vamp. The same goes for the flip side. So let's just apply glue to all of these parts, and then you see exactly how that played out. So apply my tacking glue. By the way, I'm using contact cement for tacking. So now pay attention to where I am applying my tacking glue on this quarters area. So all that part then we'll just couple it up and stitch. So you see how that happens. I'll just give it some slight taps. So now the stitching will go around the length of that curve, and of course about 1 cm into the facing itself. So let's couple this area as well. So just follow along the line of your stitching allowance on the vamp, and then you see that the whole thing is properly coupled. So when you do it like this, even on a flatbed sewing machine, it's practically a breeze to sew. But if you have a post bed, certainly it's going to be even much more easier for you. So I'll go ahead and stitch all of this thing up, and that will be the end of this class. Hopefully you have learned how to couple derby patterns to their linings, and then you can attempt it for yourself as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll stop talking right now and just let you see the finished product. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and then share the video with your friends who you think it will be helpful to. And if content like this is something that you like, we really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time we publish new content, and we do almost on a weekly basis. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and like I always say, God bless you. Oh, one more thing. This is how I'm going to join the linings to themselves. So I'm going to trace out the stitching allowance on the lining like so that I can apply glue, join it to this place, and then stitch it as well. So try it and see what you come up with. God bless you once again.